Welcome back to WhatIfVerse, the place where imagination meets science, and curiosity has no limits. Today, we're diving into one of the most haunting questions you can ask about our planet. What if the world's oceans suddenly dried up? Picture this: you wake up one morning, walk to the window, and where there used to be shimmering blue water stretching to the horizon, there's nothing. Just cracked mud and endless plains of salt. Ships rest sideways on dry seabeds. The air is still, heavy with the smell of salt and decay. The sun rises, but it doesn't glimmer off the water anymore. It burns because without the oceans, the world has lost its reflection. From space, Earth no longer shines blue. It's a pale brown marble, scarred, lifeless, and silent. So what would really happen if every drop of the ocean simply vanished overnight? First, we need to understand just how much water we're talking about. Oceans cover over 70% of Earth's surface, about 361 million square kilometers, and hold a staggering 1.35 billion cubic kilometers of water. That's 97% of all the water on the planet. They're not just vast puddles, they're the engine of life itself. They regulate climate, produce oxygen, shape weather, and cradle the ecosystems that feed and protect us. If they disappeared, it wouldn't just change the view, it would rewrite the story of Earth entirely. In the first moments, the changes would be almost unimaginable. Air pressure would start to shift. The oceans constantly evaporate moisture into the atmosphere, feeding clouds and storms. Without that, humidity would vanish, the skies would clear, the weather would freeze in shock, and winds would whip violently across continents as the atmosphere tried to adjust. The air would become drier than any desert on Earth. Your lips would crack, your throat would sting, every breath tasting like dust. The sun would feel sharper, burning down with nothing to reflect its heat. Shadows stretch unnaturally, and the world seems unbearably still, except for the winds, which scream across barren seabeds. Then comes the silence. Ships, oil rigs, submarines, and whales suddenly stranded. Entire fleets rest tilted and broken on the dry ocean floor. Coral reefs, those colorful underwater cities, crumble to powder. The soundscape of the planet disappears. No crashing waves, no cries of seabirds, no hum of ships. Just wind moving across an endless desert of salt and bone. And for the first time in history, humanity would understand the true scale of what was lost. A silence so profound it feels like the Earth itself is holding its breath. And the temperature, it would swing wildly. Oceans act as Earth's thermostat, absorbing heat during the day and releasing it at night. Without them, daytime temperatures would feel like standing inside a furnace, while nights plunge into bitter cold. Coastal regions with perfect climates would turn into wastelands. Deserts would creep across continents. Forests would dry and burn. Within weeks, green landscapes fade into shades of brown and grey. And even underground, the soil would lose its moisture, cracking and crumbling, making survival for plants nearly impossible. Rainfall gone. The hydrologic cycle, the movement of water between sea, sky and land, would break instantly. Rivers dry. Lakes shrink. Clouds vanish. Within months, the only water left would be trapped deep underground, inaccessible to most life. Humanity would enter a desperate race for the last drops. Wells run dry, reservoirs empty. People would be forced to migrate constantly, chasing dwindling water sources across a barren planet. Even before thirst kills us, oxygen levels could drop. Half of Earth's oxygen is produced by phytoplankton, tiny ocean plants floating at the surface. Without them, oxygen would start falling within weeks. At first, you might notice fatigue or shortness of breath within months. Oxygen levels could drop by 30%. The planet itself would suffocate. Breathing would feel heavier, sharper, like inhaling sand mixed with smoke. Physically, the Earth would change too. Water is unimaginably heavy, pressing down on the crust. Without it, the crust rebounds, a process called isostatic adjustment. Coastlines rise. Fault lines shift. Earthquakes tear through continents. Volcanoes awaken as pressure deep below changes. The planet cracks open, seeking a new balance. Mountains might rise suddenly. Valleys deepen. The world reshapes itself in ways no human could predict. Erosion stops. Waves and tides sculpt rocks and recycle minerals, creating fertile soil. Without them, coastlines fossilize into jagged cliffs. River deltas and beaches dry into salt flats. The world loses its soft edges, becoming harsh, sharp, lifeless. But not all is barren. The hidden world beneath the waves emerges. Imagine walking across the Atlantic Ocean's former seabed, a canyon thousands of kilometers long, ridges and valleys never seen by humans. The mid-Atlantic ridge rises like a scar dividing continents. The Mariana Trench becomes the deepest valley on the planet, darker and colder than any desert night. Alien, ancient, utterly silent, hauntingly beautiful. Sunken volcanic islands peak from what was once the ocean floor. Strange minerals and formations, sculpted over millions of years, are suddenly visible. It's a world never meant to be seen. Animal life suffers immediately. Every fish, whale, and dolphin disappears within hours. Coastal animals, seabirds, seals, penguins, polar bears starve almost instantly. Inland species collapse as food chains fail. Without rain, plants die, insects vanish, and the domino effect reaches humans. Entire ecosystems built over millions of years collapse in days, leaving a ghostly landscape. Even microscopic life on shores and in tidal pools dies, erasing countless genetic legacies. Within weeks, humanity struggles. Fresh water becomes gold. Populations flee inland in search of rivers that no longer flow. Cities like New York, Tokyo, and London, thriving because of their ports, become ghost towns on cracked ocean floors. Trade halts. Power grids fail. Agriculture becomes impossible. Dust storms sweep former coastlines, burying remnants of civilization. Crops fail. Animals die. Hunger spreads. Societies crumble as survival becomes the only rule. Could we survive? Maybe in underground shelters preserving moisture, or isolated communities near remaining glaciers and rivers. But desalination plants are useless. Civilization shrinks, only tiny oases of survivable land remain. Humanity, as we know it, would end. Psychological effects would amplify the physical challenges. Isolation, despair, and panic could become as deadly as the heat or lack of water. Glaciers would melt under the rising heat, but water wouldn't refill the oceans. It would evaporate into the dry air, forming steam in the atmosphere. Ultraviolet radiation splits water molecules, hydrogen escapes into space. Slowly, Earth loses one of its defining elements. Our blue planet becomes dusty brown. From orbit, Earth might resemble Mars, dry riverbeds, cracked plains, pale haze. And in a way, it follows Mars' path. Billions of years ago, Mars may have had oceans that evaporated into space. Earth, without its oceans, could walk the same road to desolation. Yet life persists in extreme niches. Microbes underground, extremophiles thriving in toxic mud or volcanic heat, could survive. Evolution might begin again, shaping new forms of life adapted to dryness and heat. Oceans may die, but life finds a way. The disappearance of oceans also exposes human history. Shipwrecks, sunken cities, and artifacts emerge on dry seabeds. Archaeologists would rejoice, historians mourn. The ocean has always been humanity's mirror of myths and fears. Losing it erases half our collective soul. Without water's moderating influence, the atmosphere destabilizes. Dust storms the size of continents form, lightning becomes rare, the sky's blue fades. Color itself begins to vanish, a slow bleaching of life. Sunsets become harsher, skies a duller hue. Clouds form only from volcanic emissions. Seasons blur, storms vanish, and the rhythm of weather that shaped human life collapses entirely. And imagine the silence. The deep, planetary silence of a world without waves, rain, or tides. Oceans have been Earth's heartbeat for billions of years. Without them, time slows, air feels heavier, the planet smaller, lonelier. Could oceans ever return? Possibly. Over millions of years, water trapped in Earth's mantle could slowly resurface. Steam could condense into new seas, but they'd be alien, smaller, saltier, harsher. Earth would survive, but as a new planet. And here's the twist, this isn't pure fantasy. Scientists predict that in about 1 billion years, as the sun grows hotter, Earth's oceans could really evaporate. Slowly, drop by drop, water lost to space, our planet's inevitable far future. But for now, oceans remain, breathing, roaring, teeming with life. They are our planet's memory and warning. Every wave, every storm, every breath traces back to the sea. Oceans build civilization, regulate climate, feed and inspire us. And without them, everything changes. So, what do you think? If the world's oceans suddenly dried up, could humanity adapt? Or would Earth fade into silence without its blue heart? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the WhatIfVerse, hit that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications, because every day we explore new questions that challenge what we think is possible. In the WhatIfVerse, every what if is just the beginning.